Hello,
Hi,
podcast 14.
hi, Katie. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm doing great. Just back from Vegas on the weekend. Just wanted to thank the Boys Podcast for filling in for me last week since I went
Yeah,
with a couple people from our bowling community and we went and watched the F1. So I'm still in a little bit of recovery mode, but
a little
doing
bit of
really
a
well.
daze. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got to give them credit. They threw together a show that actually was not as shambles as I thought it was going to be.
I love.
They
Maybe
they
they're
had
good
some,
with last minute like
yeah, they
planning.
had some good conversations. Tyler put some really good stuff on the wheel there, so
The wheel's
that was good.
fun.
And our little overlay to start, a little shameless plug of the 5PL merch store is now open.
Mm.
So if you have a favorite team that you want to get some merch, I know there's like lots of really cool things, crew necks, t-shirts of all the teams. So check that out. I know it's been
It's
posted
awesome.
all over Facebook. So yeah,
Good
we're
start.
cruising. Good
Yeah.
start. Couple things have happened over the last. We're now like a week behind. We had to obviously switch with the boys, so we're kind of doing our TPC recap a little bit later than we normally would. But since the TPC has happened, Newfoundland ladies have done their qualifying for the Open. I think they're the first province that has got their team solidified for nationals. So congratulations to those six ladies. There were some great scores that came out of Newfoundland this weekend. So as we see open teams being qualified and stuff, we'll definitely keep in the loop with that. I know a lot don't get to this point until later in the season, but yeah,
Yeah, I guess our next sort of qualifying round might be Ontario, right? Like they typically do December.
I think so. And Quebec is fairly early as well, usually,
Yeah,
I
and then
believe.
the rest of us kind of follow in the new year. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we do our Easter
Congratulations,
weekend.
Newfoundland ladies.
Yeah. So this is going to be kind of a TPC recap show. So we're going to get right to our first guest pretty quick here, but just a couple of quick things from TPC this year. We had a pretty good turnout. Like pinfall was challenging there, but like we still had 29 ladies play, 42 shifts thrown. So I think there was nine that averaged over 250 for the qualifying shifts, which is fantastic. And we
I
have
mean,
all of our cut
pinfall
makers
and
here.
parking was
Pinfall and parking was
parking.
challenging. Fair.
I'll just say, but I mean, still pretty good, right? 29 ladies, 42 shifts. The nine ladies over 250. I mean, I found it very challenging for me. That's two sort of consecutive times at Sherwood that I've struggled.
Right.
But yeah, super proud of all of those ladies and how tenacious some of them were. Some qualified on their first round, others took a
A
few
couple
other
shifts.
attempts, but
Right.
that's okay. Nonetheless, it's still pretty amazing that we had sort of a solid four qualifiers. So
Yeah. So we're going to get to them a little bit later in the show. But first, we have one of our constant supporters of Five Pin Bowling, and she's always at tournaments and hanging out. And let's bring her in. Hello, Cindy.
Hello.
you
How's
know
it going?
we're always looking
Good.
for like ways to bring in like different perspectives and thoughts and support systems, Cindy, and like you obviously are a huge advocate and have been for a really, really long time, not only for the sport, but for men and for women. And we appreciate you. And, you're coming off a little bit of a celebration, sitting alongside Tim, who won the TPC. So we wanted to celebrate you a little bit,
Well,
just around all of the support that you give our community. So thank you.
Yeah.
thank you.
I mean, obviously, we owe Tim a big congratulations for winning the whole event, but
Yes.
also, it's not just a long weekend for him. You spend the entire weekend in the bowling alley. Kind of let us know what it's like, kind of watching him play all weekend, the ups and downs. We know he can sometimes be a little bit hard on himself. How do you keep him
Yeah,
in the
he
moment?
I mean as most people, well, maybe they don't know, I don't know. He's an emotional guy. Um he has been struggling really bad with injuries that a lot of people just didn't know about. So he lacks confidence in his game all the time. So then with the injuries that he's had, it's affected his confidence even more. Um, and then so I forced him to take some time off from ball, go to physio, go do this kind of stuff. Well, it wasn't physio, but like chiropractor, massage, like all that kind of stuff. And he's been feeling good. And he qualified in the first shift for the Autumn Open, which was different. It's usually more than one shift. And I was like, okay, yay, we get to sleep in. This is perfect. And then we came into Masters and he won another set of stars there. And watching him bowl in that Masters, it was like watching a whole different Tim. And then I thought, I'm really excited to see how TPC's going to go. And then he qualified in the first shift again. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I kept saying, how's the body? How's the body? What do we need to do? Do you need oils? Do you need the massage gun? Like, what do you need? And he's like, no, I'm good. And I was like, you're going to tape your knee. And he's like, no. I'm like, you're going to tape your knee. So Tyler taped his knee. So that was good. And then he had his first match against Scott Rice. Is that Scott Rice?
Yep.
Yeah. And I felt okay. I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. Like, Scott's a good guy, this, whatever. And then
We play slow pitch together.
Yeah, like, this is, we're just going to be talking. And then he won that one. And then I seen what spot he was going in, and my heart fell because I knew he was playing Dexter. And I was thinking, oh my goodness gracious. Not that I don't think that he couldn't beat Dexter. It's just, he's playing his brother. And
that's an emotional match.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I mean, as much as you want to cheer for both of them, obviously I'm going to cheer for Tim. So then that was going on. And then the machines broke down, or the scoring system thingy broke down. So then, they're proprietors, they're running the tournament, they're doing all this, and then they have to deal with that, plus bowl. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious. I think Tim was able to, I don't know, handle it a little bit better, maybe. Like, Dex got really stressed right away. And then he won that match. And I was like, okay, maybe this feeling that I have going on is going to go away. And it just got worse and worse as the day went. And I kept saying to everybody, I've never had an anxiety attack or a panic attack or a heart attack, but I feel like that's what I'm having. And so I drank, and that didn't help either. And then it just kept getting worse throughout the day. And I kept looking at him, and he was reassuring me. He would look at me and be like, it's okay.
We got this.
I got this. And I'm thinking, I am the crappiest girlfriend ever, because I should be looking at him being like, you got this. And I'm sitting there like a deer in headlights, just like freaking out. And so now looking back, I'm like, was it like a sign? Was it like I knew? And because in the 4 years of watching him, I've never had those feelings ever. I've had a couple matches where I'm like, oh God, I hope he does this or whatever, but I've never had that feeling before.
Yeah. Every time I looked over at you, you had like tears in your eyes, and you're like, oh, it's okay. It's okay.
I was like, I was a hot mess. I was like emotional.
You were a hot mess. Yeah.
Emotional. And thank God for Helena, because it got, by the time I think he was playing his mark for the second time, I couldn't watch. I would watch Tim bowl, but I couldn't watch what the other opponent was doing. So I would just turn away, and I could go by the hear of everything. And I was like, oh, they punched. Okay, the door's open. Here we go. Yeah, it was horrible. Okay. I was a hot mess.
Cindy, you're more than a great cardigan sweater. Because you wear a lot of great cardigan sweaters. But I think this is a great segue to some of the heartfelt messages that you have posted on Facebook about Tim. So that whole journey on Facebook, and there's been several, talk to us a little bit why that is important for you to voice.
So I do it, what does Dexter call me? Tim's Chihuahua. I do it because I want him to see like what I see and what everybody else
sees
when they're not making fun of him. in hopes that maybe through the feedback and the comments, maybe he'll be like, like with every, maybe one out of every 20 messages, it might register to him. And he'd be like, maybe I am worth it. Maybe like I can do this. So it's more of like a kick in the butt to see if it will help him. And for those people that keep wanting to bug him, people are going to bug him all the time. I bug him too. But for the people that are constantly saying he's washed up, he's a has-been, is he going to be good again? It's kind of my screw you. Yeah,
Stick
he
it to
is.
them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's lovely that you do that, not only for you as a couple, just your confidence that you give Tim and just that positivity, just standing beside him, but also more importantly, that kind of voice for the community, I also think is really big because it, even though it is directly between you and him,
Yeah.
specifically for him, I think it actually goes outside of that and it gives people an opportunity to kind of see that almost like a self reflection, not that you're speaking to them specifically, but
Yeah.
like I read them. I have some development in learning through some of that personally, and I hope others do as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, because we know that you're a huge supporter of Tim, but also of Five Pin Bowling. You're one of the Dream Crusher sponsors. You're at every tournament weekend that we've ever seen in the last 5 years, but you also play bowling yourself, which is
I
more
attend.
chat like you you do. And you've
Yeah.
had some success and you've come a long way in your own game. Like you've been putting a lot of time and practice into your own game and trying to better it. It's like being around these tournaments, watching Tim, does that give you the motivation to put the work into your own game as well?
Sometimes it does because I remember the first time you guys have that the Boxing Day tournament and he asked me to be his partner and I was like, "No." And he's like, "Why?" And I was like, "You're like you can bowl. Like I'm going to embarrass you. Like there was no way." And so then I was like, I don't want to be like that person that he feels he has to bowl with just because he's dating me. Like I want to be able to come in and like carry my own. And then it turns out that I end up carrying him anyways. So
Yeah, you rocked at that tournament. You
That's
like
nice.
100% put him over your shoulder and carried him along.
yeah, if it's no tap, I'm your girl.
Yeah, fair.
So, Cindy, what are you working on right now in your own game?
Well, I was mentioning, I have turned into, well, I'm trying, I've turned into a spot bowler. Is that what you guys call it? You look at a
Yeah,
mark? Yeah.
yeah.
So for 14 years, I've been bowling, 13 years. I've just looked at the pins. And I've already had enough people tell me that I'm bowling wrong because I bowl bocce style. And then they're like, well, where do you look? And I'm like, I look at the pins. And they're like, that's not what you're supposed to do. And I've had many people, many people try and correct me, and it's not happening. And then
Yeah.
my game this year, I finished last season on such a high that I just expected I was going to start the season that same way, and it didn't. And so I got really frustrated. And then Tony said to me, "Can you just amuse me for a minute and just try this?"
Try. Yeah.
And I was like, I know where my spot is. Sean has told me where my spot is. I know where it is. I just don't want to do it. And everybody always says, why do you want to look at 60 feet away rather than 15 feet? I'm like, I don't know. I can't see close anyways. That's why we're glasses. So I tried it the other night and it went really well.
Awesome.
And then last night it did not go well, but I
There's
did
ups and
not
downs.
yeah, but I did not go back to looking at the pins. I stayed with it and I'm going to keep
Nice.
trying it and then we'll see how it goes. But it
Yeah,
it makes sense. Like I actually get what everybody's saying now.
fair.
Yeah, like I
And
was on Four
any
Maker and I wasn't even nervous because I kept telling myself, as long as you hit your spot, you're fine. Whereas before I'd be like, I don't know where this ball is going to go, but let's hope for the
I
best,
think we all feel that way sometimes.
right? Yeah.
Fair.
So
Well,
yeah.
just as we wrap up with you, any goals for the season or anything that you have kind of your sights set on for this year?
Well, I'm going to keep trying the spot bowling thing. And then if it continues to go not like last night, but how I was starting and how it goes, then
Right.
maybe the Open will be on the list. We'll see.
Hmm.
I had a little taste of it that one year, and I'm looking to maybe make it a better experience. So, yeah.
Amazing.
And of course, I'll just be there cheering Tim on and everybody else. And
You're not
I make a great
just
manager, if
there
anything.
cheering Tim on. You are there while cheering Tim on, but
Yes,
not
yes,
just. Yes.
yes. It's true.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and
Yes,
chatting
thanks
with
for
us a
having
little
me.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see you at the next tournament.
Yeah. I don't even know when it
Yeah.
is.
Hi.
Yeah.
Dream Crushers, December 10th.
Oh, no, won't be there that one. I'll actually miss that one.
Oh, no.
I know I
Okay.
have president duties.
Fair.
Fair.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, Cindy.
All right. Thanks, ladies.
Okay.
Good luck, Cindy.
Bye.
Thanks.
All right. So now we can kind of switch gears a little bit to some of our guests who have been playing in some of these events as well. Our first guest that we have has been on our show before. We love to have her. She's always been having so much success, qualifying 32nd. She shot a 21:47. Let's bring. How's it
Hello.
going, Josie?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. I'm gonna put this up. I'm not gonna forget it this week. Look at me
Nice.
go.
There we go. The ticker.
The ticker. So congratulations on another WCBT cut and
Thank you.
also being awarded the last year's Female Player of the Year. I think that was just handed out like recently at Autumn
Yeah.
Open.
Yeah, I got it at TPC.
Oh, at TPC.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so off to a great start of the season. How's things been going?
Good. I took a couple months off there during the off season, and then came back. And like Cindy was saying, she started end of the season on a high. I just kind of expected that to keep going. It's not how things work, and I learned that lesson pretty quick. But being back into like the competition and like the physical tournament mode of it, I missed it. Like taking that little bit of time off makes such a huge difference.
Yeah.
I should have done it,
Well,
but I
fresh
had to.
mind. I definitely saw like aspects of like, here's what I know about Josie. Never give up, Josie. At TPC, we watched on the Sunday, and there were plenty of time where you were down in your matches. And it's just this unrelentless force within you, Josie, where I saw at the end, like where you actually came back and you won some matches when it didn't look like it was going to go your way. So I think that's pretty remarkable to watch, like as somebody who's like watching you, just how tenacious you are. Tell us a little bit about, how did you prepare for this, for the TPC? Has there been many games? Is it league? Are you practicing outside of that right now?
As like before TPC, I was honestly just throwing league, and I was struggling during league. So coming into TPC, I didn't know how it was gonna go. If I'm being completely honest with you, I was fully expecting to double shift. My confidence, like it was gone. It wasn't there. And then I threw that Friday afternoon shift, and I don't know, something just clicked in my brain, whether it was, the fact that my dad sponsored me for that first shift and I didn't want to go and pay another $220 out of my own pocket, Um, I don't know what it was. Something just clicked in my brain, and it was like I had never left. Like I hadn't been struggling at home. Like it was, yeah, I don't know. I hadn't
Thank,
really practiced up until it was just
th-
league.
thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
He's always there. He's right behind you. I'm sure that really helps. Like averaging
Yeah.
268 too, like in one shift is amazing for anybody, Josie. So I think that's awesome that you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when we look at your TPC, so after you averaged the 268 to make the cut, you ended up having to play in the play-in round because with TPC only top 24, I believe, make it right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so in that you ended up beating Robert Tompkins with a 695 to 620. Then on the A side, the total pinfall side, you ended up beating Bradley Ticat and then losing in the second round to Sylvain. And then you had to play Brad again in the best two of three. And then in that one, he was able to beat you. Do you have, after playing the same person in both sides, so you kind of have that part the same, is there one of the formats, one of the sides that you prefer, the best two of three versus pinfall?
I'd rather pinfall.
Yeah.
During that first match against Brad, I think I was down like 80 going to that last game, and I sat down and I was like, yeah, it would be cool if I could, take out Brad. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Let's go throw a 340. And then again, something just clicked in my brain and I was like, why can't it be me? Why can't I beat Brad? And then I came back with like an 80 pin deficit and beat him, and then played him on the B side and he crushed me. It is what it is.
For sure.
Well,
So yeah, only fair. When you think about like when you're playing in these tournaments, like all these WCBT events, you're playing against people who sometimes their name carries a lot of weight. They have a lot of success. They're kind of one of those presence on the lane that people know their name, people know their game, they know they can shoot. Does that kind of affect your mindset a little bit when you're going into those matches? Or is it something that motivates you?
I think it's more of a motivation thing. Like, don't get me wrong. If I say I'm matched up against like Weber, I'm like, I'm really gonna have to fight for this one. But like over the past few years and like my national experience this summer really made me like disassociate the name from the game. Like, I know I'm here for a reason. I made the cut. I'm just as good as any of these other players. Like, it's anybody's game at any given point. Like the play-in match against Robert, probably the longest 3 games him and I have ever played in a match play style. It took us almost an hour and a half to throw 3 games.
Right.
But, right? It's anybody's game any given day. So I don't think for me the name is really get in my head anymore. I think
sure.
I've passed that as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
So you've also had quite a bit of success like outside of WCBT this last little bit. There was the Saskatoon Fall Classic that you just ended up winning.
Yeah.
420 at Pro League, Masters Stars on this last weekend that we just had. Like tons of success throughout the season. Is there something that you're like enjoying playing more than other things, or something that you're like really motivated with?
I love the Pro League. Like our team just clicks really, really well, and I'm very fortunate for that. Masters, I've always loved playing Masters, and I don't really have a preference. Like if it's match play, scratch, best 2 or 3, as long as I'm on the lanes, I'm happy.
I mean, for the love of the game, right, Josie?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
always been really good, but like, what is the thing that you think has just gotten you like over the hump, or where you felt like you were? I always like understanding where people are at in their game, and so obviously you've had a wild, wild ride the last couple of years. So I just want to know, what do you think it was? Like, is it the dedication to the game? Is it more playing? Is it more defined goals? Like, I'm just throwing things out there, but
Yeah. I think personally for me, for like being able to bowl different styles like League, Pro League, Masters, the Open, that kind of thing, having all those different experiences myself at such a young age, like I'm only 24, right? I'm still so young in the grand scheme of things of this game. And I think just everything that I have experienced already has just helped me reach that next level. Having conversations with people like yourself, Tracy, and like, Tyler and Adam and all those little friends and little tidbits that I have picked up along the way even just going to the lanes and watching the shift, watching good bowlers, I honestly strongly believe makes you a better bowler. And I will always stand behind that. You pick up on little mannerisms that you don't even realize you pick up on just by watching people who are, I guess, better than you, for lack of a better term.
How does it make you feel like now that you get to play like some of these, big events and you're playing in the cut, you're playing on Sunday. I mean, you've been playing at a high level for like nationals, but does that drive a little bit of a personal tick for you?
Oh, for sure. Um, Especially like going back to that Brad match, it was just something just clicks, and it's that little bit of motivation. Like, oh, if I get 2 in a row here, I'm only X amount back. I can still make this respectable. It, yeah.
I mean, that's definitely what I said at the beginning. I saw you play the match against Robert. You don't throw four bagger in that third game. I think it was a four bagger you threw. It might have been in bin five. He couldn't, like, no offense, he's amazing and we all love
Yeah.
him, but like he
Yeah.
couldn't keep up. And that's why you won that match. And then the game against Brad, you were down significantly and you would have thought, okay, this is over. And you basically in your head
Battled
went,
back.
No, yeah, you battled
I was-
back. I watched it. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I think the other thing that, like, as you were saying that you had all these different experiences at such a young age, you're training your body every time you put yourself into a situation that tests your mental game, that tests your drive, that
Confidence.
tests all of those,
Yeah.
your focus in different situations. It's no different than when you have people who are working out, training their muscles. They don't just do the same exercise to get stronger. They have to train their body in different ways. And I think that's what you're doing with your game too. You're putting yourself in different match play. You're putting yourself in different situations where you're playing against people who challenge you and challenge your game and challenge your mindset. So I think that's a really good way of just making sure that your game is always growing too.
Yeah. And like no one match play is the same from the other. No format,
Right.
no same tournament is the same. So I
Yeah.
think that has really helped me break through that barrier of the next level that I want to be at.
We love the heart that you have. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch and pure example. Honestly, I know you're young, but it's still you're a pure example for the ladies who want to play at an elite level or a non-elite level, and they're still driving to be their best. And obviously, we want to thank you for that. This is a ladies podcast, and we like to empower and make sure that we're driving that message. And Josie, strong is beautiful, and you're it.
Thank you. I will forever be an advocate for this sport, especially with especially YBC. Do it. You never
Yeah,
know, right?
agreed.
You never. You try.
I'm
Yeah.
34 years older than you, and I still learn from you TPC weekend.
I appreciate that. That means a lot, Tracy.
Yeah. It's a good thing about this game. There's always ways to improve, always ways to grow and
Yeah.
to challenge yourself, right?
Nobody out
You-
there, don't do the math.
Yeah.
So, as you look ahead to the season, I mean, we're not quite halfway done the season at this point. Any goals that you have looking ahead? I know you had a big season last year.
Yeah.
Hard to top, but
I think for me right now, master singles, just having won another 2 sets of stars, that's obviously a goal in my mind. And then also open ladies singles would be amazing. That would be really
for
cool
sure.
to do double singles this year.
You're setting yourself up nicely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure that we are going to see, we still have 3 more cash tournaments on the WCBT tour this year. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot more amazing things out of you this season, both in the cash tournaments as well as Masters and the Open. I mean, you never seem to disappoint. So congratulations on a fantastic season so far. And I hope it continues as you continue on.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josie. We love you, Bill Brooks, as well.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
See you
bye.
later. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I was a little happy there with the trigger button.
That's okay.
Uh,
It's great.
so we get to move from someone who we've seen on our cash tournament circuit for quite a while to someone who has made their first cut in the WCBT, which is fantastic. Let's bring her in. Hello, Akira.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good, and you?
Good.
We're going to brag about you, Akira.
So, yeah, you'll be like, oh no, stop talking, stop
I know.
talking.
Yeah.
So qualified 17th with a 2207. I like I was sitting at dinner going over scores when you were playing this qualifying shift, and after the first three games, you were averaging like you had 1,008 for three, which is wild. Um, and as soon as like that started happening, we were all of us sitting at the table. We're just like, yep, like not surprised at all. So, A side, you ended up playing Ryan O'Callahan. B side, Adam Weber. I watched that Adam Weber match, and you gave him a run for his money. Like it was close after that first game. So, um, absolutely wild. But we definitely have some questions for you. So, starting with Thursday night, how did you like the ladies' invitational format, the match play style, and one on a lane?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was really looking forward to it. And yeah, it didn't live down the expectations. And it was a really good match, obviously. And you?
Yeah, it like our match was definitely one that was high up there. I know that some of the people who were watching were kind of going, if she was playing anybody else in that first round, you would have been easily through the first round, but um, still fantastic bowling. And then we move into your Saturday qualifying shift. How did it feel to start off that strong?
Um, it was kind of like, I don't know, it was like a relief that I like had something to build off of,
Right.
and I didn't have to like stress about it going into like the middle of the game. I just had to hold on.
It definitely looked effortless. Um, and that's really interesting. Did it feel effortless for you, Akira?
Um, yeah, like I went up to my dad and I was like, I wish it felt this easy all the time. Like it just felt
Right.
really easy. And then, yeah, I don't know.
So when you had that really good start, did it change your mindset? Like you kind of said, you just have to hold on. Did it put pressure on you that you had to hold on, or did it kind of just make it so that you could just coast through and you could just throw an easy shot, not really have to stress too much?
Um, I think the only thing that was really stressing me out was the 225 pot. And then I ended up going out of it the next game. So I was like, okay, whatever. Just, and then I was like, yeah, you just have to throw like 230s, 250s, like from here. And I knew I could do that. So I just was like trying to stay calm. Yeah.
For sure. The 225 pot adds a whole other layer to it.
Yeah.
It does.
And like it almost becomes the tournament within the tournament. Like you just want to stay in the 225 pot.
Yeah.
So, Akira, you mentioned the word expectations like earlier on when we first got on with you. Do you have fairly high expectations of yourself, or do you feel they're in place, if that makes sense?
Um, I feel like my goal for that weekend was to make the cut. So I feel like I set the right expectation. But once it got to Sunday, like I just wanted to win one match. So I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to do that, and it just didn't go the way that I wanted to because I put the pressure on myself. But
I'll tell you, Ryan was pretty nervous heading into that match, and I'm sure he might be listening. He often listens to our podcast, but he he definitely felt the threat of Akira and Seth, and so that's pretty honorable, right? To know that somebody knew that he needed to rise to the level. And that's actually someone who's been there quite often. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that feel that same, like, I wouldn't say fear, but like that, playing Akira, right? Like, I know even for myself in Ladies Invitational, when like we were picking names and stuff, yours was definitely on that list of people. I was like, oh, I really hope I don't see her first round. Like, I just not wanting to put myself in that position just yet. But and I know that you're just going to continue to grow in your game. It's wild at such a young age how much success you're already having. When you're going into these tournaments, and so now you have a taste of kind of what Sunday looks like, how did you kind of prepare yourself for that moment? Like you said, you put a lot of pressure on yourself. Were you trying to kind of talk yourself down a little bit, or was there something going through your head while you were going through that process?
Um, well, for Sunday, I was just trying to, I don't know. I wasn't going to expect to win. So I was just like trying to have fun with it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have much preparation for that. I was like, oh my God. It was kind of like, oof, when I went in there. But yeah,
Ooh, fair.
there's not really any way to describe it. I was just like overwhelmed.
Fair. Your parents, Tracy and Len, play a huge role, a supportive role. Talk to us a little bit about what that means for you, that you have both your mom and your dad there for you all of the time.
It's for sure helps. Like I lean more on my dad when it comes to bowling because I feel like he just knows what to say. Um, but yeah, bowling with him the first shift was nice because if I needed to talk to him, he was just right there. And then the second shift, I kind of just like had a feel for it, so I didn't really need to talk to them. But when I need to talk to them, they're there, so it's nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I know I got to have a couple conversations with your mom throughout the weekend, and she was proud mama watching,
Pacing a little bit at
pacing
times,
a little
but
bit.
just like so proud, which is really,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily see it all the time. They keep it probably pretty tight when they're watching you, but yeah, pretty incredible to watch.
So, from this tournament, what are some things that you kind of were able to have as a takeaway or like a lesson that you've learned that you can carry forward on into the rest of your season?
Um, well, like now I know I can make a cut, so I'm hoping to like build off of this and make more. And if I do, like I want to be more prepared for the Sunday. I want to have a stronger mindset going into those matches, and yeah, hopefully go deeper in the tournament.
You played a few shifts, Akira, which is
Yeah.
awesome. You keep trying, and that's good. But did you feel tired at all? Like, do you think that kind of affected where you were on Sunday?
I don't know about like physically, but I was like mentally pretty exhausted.
Yeah. Physically, Tracy, she's like a million years younger than us.
I
I was told that
know.
I'm old enough to be her mom when we played each other. So, like,
So I'm a grandma.
physically, yeah. It's a whole family affair right here, but physically, she's good. It's not like us where our back hurts after like a
I know,
whole
right?
fight shift.
Oh my goodness, Akira. So what's next? We still have like a whole almost feels like a whole year left. We're just really at the beginning of the
Yeah,
season. So what's next? Like what's next? There's a lot coming.
What does your season
yeah.
look like?
There's a lot coming up. This weekend I have YBC provincials, so I'm excited for that. And then after that, I'm going to Winnipeg. So see what happens there. I hope to play all the tour events this year if I can make it out. Yeah,
That's awesome.
You a member of the WCBT, Akira?
yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. We love that.
Amazing. And once you
Yeah.
make one cut, they all just kind of start rolling in.
Yep.
It happens. It happens. So when you look ahead to the rest of your season, do you have any specific goals that you are, other than like the WCBT? Like obviously now that you've made one cut, you want to make the next one and run deeper. But do you have any goals within the other tournaments that you play throughout the season?
Well, I'd like to try and make it to nationals this weekend and then hopefully defend my title. Other than that, just like, yeah, keep on the WCBT events and just if I can make it out to the Diamond Ladies Classic, I'd also like to do well there. And yeah,
Congratulations once again on being the high ladies qualifier for TPC. That's an incredible accomplishment, Akira.
thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for a little chat about your first cut. They like just let it sink in. It's a great feeling, and I know you're going to have so many more of just having that success because already such a force to be reckoned with. So
Thank you very much.
Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay,
See
bye,
ya.
Akira.
Just had a comment come in. She's so humble. She is just like
Yeah,
maybe
she's
not the
beautiful.
Len part, but
Yeah.
just so nice to play. Like whenever I get to kind of have chats with her on the lanes and stuff, just always so fantastic to talk to. All right, we can just keep cruising along. We have our next qualifier. Find the right thing here. Another one who's been on our show before. We'll bring her in. Oh, one. Oh. Just call me Carrie at
I
that
was
point.
gonna say,
Wow.
hey, Carrie.
Let's try that again here. Wow, when you press the right video, it works so much better.
And then Jenna appears.
And then Jenna appears just like that. Wow. Oh, I'm gonna get razzed for that one pretty good. But
Well,
okay.
welcome to the podcast, Jenna.
Hello, hello.
Not the best intro from Katie.
I
I've seen
got there
better.
eventually. I've also seen better.
Just a little bit.
So welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on another tour cut. Qualified 36 with a 21:37. And then you ended up playing the play-in round to
Yeah.
kind of get into that top 20, top 32.
Yeah.
Top 32. And that didn't go your way, but still an accomplishment whenever you make a cut in this kind of field, it's still an accomplishment. So
Yeah.
congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Walk us through a little bit. How was your qualifying shift?
I played twice, so I did have to qualify. So I played Friday morning, and then I did play Saturday morning. Friday morning, it was going well. I had one bad game that kind of I just missed the cut kind of thing. And then on Saturday, it definitely felt a lot better. Things were rolling more like my own game. I know I came to you, Katie, for the last game of just trying to squeak in. I had set myself up pretty good. I just kind of had to throw a game, and
Finish it.
most of you know that once I'm stressed, I press quite a bit, and I was pressing. So I needed Katie to calm me down a little bit, but finished it and just snuck into the end of it. So it's always a good feeling to make the cut. So
So speaking of like, it's always a good feeling to make the cut. Does it ever change? Like, do you ever feel, now that you've made multiple cuts over the last couple of seasons, like, does it feel less pressure or less nerve-wracking when you make a cut? Does that feeling ever change?
I mean, other than Autumn Open this year and then TPC, it had been a couple years when I made my first cut. So once you do make it, it definitely feels easier because you're like, okay, I've made the cut. I've made a cut. It's easier to kind of get yourself into that position. But then once you've made the cut, it's still, you still have to put your best feet forward and play your game in order to move on. So kind of still differentiating like after, oh, I've made the cut, but I still need to play can be hard. Especially different formats, different change it. So still being in the right mindset for it. It's hard.
But what I've noticed about you, Jenna, lately, I'm going to say probably in the last 2 years, is just this level of consistency. That's what I've noticed. And again, you're really young, so you haven't honestly been playing adult for very long. But
Mhm.
we talk about like your what's happened at Masters last year, what's happened in the first two events at Masters, your cut at Autumn Open, the cut here. Like there's just this level of consistency. Do you think you always had that level of consistency, and maybe a teachable moment in terms of your game for the rest of us?
The consistency's definitely come more in the last couple years. I think it's definitely played into my confidence. I haven't been as confident coming into adults just because it's a whole other realm. And now playing in adults and consistently
Succeeding.
kind of matching those idols I've had has made it easier to be consistent because I've been in that position enough times. But I've had a lot of help from just the mental side of it to be consistent. I think that's my weakest spot is not having the mental strength to kind of push myself. So I think that's where most of it's come from to be consistent for me.
That mental readiness, where are you getting that from? That's my first question. And my second question is that coming from role models, or do you have role models and advocates in the game that's helped you the last couple of years?
Kind of both. I've taken to, I mean, you've seen Ty with me. Ty's always been in my corner from day one since we've been young, and he's definitely been that person that I can go talk to. Just even if it's not about bowling, he calms that mental side of me so that I can focus on what actually needs to happen on the lane. And then when I'm not on the lane, it's all fun and games so that I'm not thinking about it too much. I've always looked up to you both, Jen Baker, Heidi, the side that is so calm on you guys with the lanes. It's what I try to strive for because you can't, not that you don't want to be a mess on the lanes, but once you physically see that someone's calm, it's easier to kind of follow that. But there's been a lot of help in off the lanes of people and me just talking to them, even Dexter. Dexter's a big one for me. Just talking to people has helped make it easier for me.
For sure. As you're like playing against some of these people and you're in these tournaments, is there things that you're kind of looking for in the people who are playing around you that you're picking up on? Like you kind of talked about that calmness when you're playing with some, but like even when you're playing with some of these men, is there things that you're like really trying to pull from their game and learn from?
Kind of. The men, not so much, just because I think they have a more aggressive way to do it, and I'm not an aggressive bowler in terms of the after effect of it, I guess. With the ladies, we'll throw a shot and like we'll celebrate in a more calm way, and I think getting riled up in a calm way is good, but still, if you're throwing a bad shot, like having that composure instead of, no offense to the men, but they do kind of, you see it a little bit more. So staying just like in the calm, having calm is good, I think, but yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
that's just in your I want to pick at this a bit. Do you think that's just in your DNA, or how you were raised in the sport as a youth, or is that something that you saw as a young individual in the sport looking at already maybe the adults, and that was just a reflection of perhaps how you portray yourself?
I had to work to be calm. When I was young, I was very emotional, and a lot of people know that. I can still get emotional now, and again, people know that. But I think because I was so emotional when I was younger, it hindered my game a lot, and I had to learn to stay calm in such big moments. And then I've seen it, so I've tried to portray it as well. But it was learning curve for me. It was definitely something I had to fight to do.
That's awesome. Keep working on that, right? Because then as you work through that, then I think the excellence continues to happen and even gets stronger.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we kind of touched on it with Josie even a little bit too. The more you put yourself in those situations, the more you have to throw that pressure shot or that big moment ball, and you continue to like practice and work out your ability to be calm in those situations, to take that deep breath and execute, throw that confident shot. The more times you do that, the more confidence comes from it, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
when we're in those big moments and we don't execute, that's gonna like it's harder to work through that. But you've had a lot of success where you've been in those moments and you have thrown the shot, you have been able to execute, and so that you can just keep building on that confidence piece
Yeah.
from there.
I was going to say I agree with one of the things Josie said is being in different events, whether it's WCBT, Masters, Open, League, you're in so many different environments that you have to be able to
Adapt.
adapt to it. And it's the biggest thing. So playing everything, it helps.
For sure. So in thinking about like different environments, I'm going to kind of ask a question here about tournaments, like some of these WCBT events. We have some of the tournaments where it's just a straight cut, your top 48 or your top 32 just make the cut. And then we have some of our events that have that play-in round. Does that alter your mindset right from the qualifying? Like I'm shooting for the top 24, so I don't have to do the buy-in. Do you kind of just play it as normal? There's not really much difference. Like how does that affect your preparation and your mindset going into those tournaments?
In all honesty, I kind of forgot that TPC was a play-in. I forgot that it changed the year before. So I think because I hadn't made a TPC cut yet, I was working to just make a cut. Even if it meant in playing in, I was willing to do it because it means I make a cut. But once you're kind of in that zone of, oh, I could have played better to get past that and then not have to do the play-ins does make a difference. I know Tyler, he had made the cut. He was already in, but then decided, hey, I want to play to shoot higher and make it into the top 24. That takes a lot of gut and like you have to have the right mindset for it. And I think personally, I just wanted to make the cut. I had only made Red Deer and Autumn Open. So for me, it was just making a cut, shooting that 21, whatever, was mostly what I was going for. And then once you get into the play-in, though, it's a whole other world. If I'm being honest.
So when you say the play-in is a whole other world, like when you made the Autumn Open cut, you played phenomenally. And then the play-in this tournament, obviously it didn't go your way. How did it feel different doing that like play-in event versus just being part of the cut and going?
Because you're not guaranteed to continue on, you press. And it's what I do. So the Autumn Open, it kind of was a little different because you have 8 games to still make top 16, where this is you have 3 games to get your shit together. Excuse my language, but just to pretty much get it together. And I couldn't. And it's as simple as that, where you're either on or you're off, and you have a shorter amount of time to kind of figure it out. Whereas the other ones is you've got a little more wiggle room to make up for whatever you didn't do well in a previous game, where this is you have to be on. So
Yeah.
That's where the formats are so interesting, right? Of the different
Yeah.
events. Yeah.
And I always
it
find
gives
it
everyone a
interesting
chance.
Yeah, and I always find it interesting who prefers like one format versus another, just because there is such differences, and like not to say that one's better or worse than others, but it just depends, like you said too, about your own personal game and kind of knowing where your strengths and your, areas you want to grow are. When you only have a few games or a few frames to figure something out, for some people, that's something that they're trying to work on versus others are really good at just like making that quick fix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Autumn Open was easier because I had 8 games, and then when you have
Well, I mean,
3,
also you were like on fire at Autumn Open.
it felt good. It felt good at Autumn Open, and this one didn't feel nearly as good. So I was trying to get into that groove too. So
Yeah, for sure. When you look ahead at your season, what kind of goals do you have for the rest of the season?
Obviously, Masters, we're playing in January, so I would like to go for singles. I'm trying, but it's hard out here, obviously, and you both know that. I would like to also, obviously, the Open ladies singles would be great again, but ladies team for sure. And then the rest of the WCBT, I'm not doing Winnipeg, but the other two would be great. So
Amazing.
Some great goals.
Wow. Well, I know personally, I hope you have continue to have success this season, especially because it benefits me as well a little bit when you do good.
little biased.
Little bias here, but definitely, we've seen such amazing growth from you in the last few years, and you've hit that point of being just such a consistent force, no matter what tournament you're playing. So it's been so fun to watch, and
Thank you.
hopefully it continues.
I hope so too.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, and
Thank
we'll
you for
see you
having
soon.
me.
Keep going
Yeah,
strong,
absolutely.
Jenna.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we have one more lady to talk to.
Very nice.
Another first cut. I'm going to make sure I click the right commercial this time, and then we'll bring her in. Nailed it.
Nailed it. It was seamless.
Problems.
Yeah, we had a few problems. Little setback, but we're good now. We're good.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Jamie.
show.
Hi.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going. Been a bit of was crazy. Got out late.
Oh no. Well, we'll do kind of a little recap of your TPC weekend, and then we'll ask you some questions about it. But qualified 21st with a 2185, average 273. You, like Akira, had a fantastic start to your qualifying shift with your first 3 games. You had a 984 triple, which is unreal. It's so good. So you just were able to go right into the brackets. And on the A side, the total pinfall side, you ended up making it through the first round and beat Carrie with 769 to 755 and the most clutch 3-pin spare I think I've ever
I
seen.
think I've heard about that like 17 times because Carrie keeps talking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you had to throw a 3-pin spare to beat anybody, that's the person to do it against, since he's like the king of 3-pin spares. Or, well, no, he's the king of 3-pins, not sparing them. And then ended up losing to Mark Johnstone in that side. And then on the best 2 of 3, ended up playing Mike Tweedy, and he won 2 games to 1. So,
Yeah.
how was the tournament in general? Like, kind of overall feelings about it?
I mean, it was kind of funny because definitely I went in there on the Friday and I was all like, I'm bowling 1 shift, and if it's not good enough, we're going home. It's fine. I'll come watch. And it had been a rough start to the year, so it was pretty nice to go out there and actually throw well on the Friday. And then Sunday, I was just a ball of stress. It was pretty funny. I had to keep reminding myself to breathe, probably every single frame.
You didn't
funny.
look
I went
that
out
like.
3, and they were like 2 people on a lane, and all I remembered was, okay, I think someone bowls frame 1, then the next person bowls 2 and 3, and I'm standing there and Carrie's bowling, and I'm kind of like, so there's 2 people, how does this work? And they're like, no, you can just bowl.
It's just normal at this point, yeah.
Like,
Well-
how amazing. You must be so proud of yourself, first of all.
Yeah. It was very good. It was a very proud moment because the year did not start off great.
Yeah, I mean, we're proud of you. That's an incredible score, averaging 273 in the 1 shift. And I watched you that shift as well. I did a lot of watching, no, like little bowling. So I was on the other side of the lanes, but you were super consistent, and you looked like just comfortable for that qualifying shift.
Yeah. I was going to say, even on the Sunday, like, I was able to watch a couple of your matches on the Sunday, and you're saying, like, I had to keep reminding myself to breathe. You didn't look it. Like, you looked
Yeah.
like in control. You were like going up, executing your shots, coming back, and you looked in control of your emotions. You looked in control of your game.
It's pretty funny. I'm glad it didn't look as bad as it felt.
I love that for you, though, because this is what we've been advocating on this podcast all of the time, right? Is like the learning experience and giving her opportunities to like play in these events. The Diamond Ladies Classic being, a specific event just for her only. So the fact that, you've kind of gotten over a bit of a hurdle in the last 2 years is pretty incredible. So, I mean, your runway is fast and furious if you keep at it.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that. It was a weird year because I was going to do tournament masters and then work wasn't working and I couldn't guarantee I could get Saturdays off. And it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, especially if you've got like work challenges, right? And how do you find the time to make the time? And then obviously, all the different things like pro league, all of these different events. It's a huge commitment. Are you finding like playing more events is helping your game thrive?
It definitely is helping in some ways. I'm stressing a lot less when I get to them. I know more people, so I stopped panicking that I shouldn't be there. That was a big hurdle the first couple tournaments is like, I don't know any of these people. I don't do scratch tournaments. What am I doing?
It's like that imposter syndrome a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, but some of that self-doubt is going away and it's turning into a confidence builder for you.
Is definitely helping.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And everyone in the tournaments is friendly. It doesn't matter if you bowl a terrible game. Like I think TPC last year, I had a really awful 140 something. I was bowling with Mitch Davies, so that didn't help either.
That's
So
okay.
kind
We've
of,
all been there.
yeah, so has Mitch. It's fine. So in speaking to kind of that mindset of where you're like, sometimes I'd feel really like nervous. I was playing with Mitch Davies, or as you're playing more of these events, is there people around you that you're able to kind of learn from or take inspiration from, or just even little tidbits of things that you can implement into your own game and mindset that has helped you in the last couple of years? Because you've had such a great, successful couple of years.
A lot of it's like you meet all these people and you get to watch how everyone else does things. Like Heidi barely ever looks like she's frustrated. You manage when you're stressed out and you just go up there and keep throwing the ball and pounding away at it till you take the middle out. And you just watch all these people and like, I don't think I've ever seen someone hit the middle as consistently as Jen Baker when she's on, but when she's off, she struggles too. And just knowing that everyone is human probably was the biggest thing that helped me.
Yeah. And I think that piece there, like knowing that you're human, giving yourself grace, allowing yourself to make mistakes and not be in that mindset of like, I'm terrible, I can't do it, but giving yourself that grace to make those mistakes and realize that we all have days that we are on and we make a shift in one, and we all have tournaments where we could 5 shift and still not make the cut, right? So just giving ourselves that.
There's definitely days where you're like, this feels terrible, and you know that you just got to keep pounding through. And then there's days where you just keep reminding yourself, it's just throw at it, just keep throwing at it and it'll work. I mean, the first shift for me, the first game was like, okay, that felt really good. I'm just going to keep going and see what happens. And then I had a really rough 7th game. What was 7? I think it was game 7. I had like a 178 and I was like, ooh, I cannot do that again. But I came back and I threw another 270 to make that 2185. And I still wasn't 100% sure. They're like, no, you're bowling Sunday. I was like, yeah, there could be people that pass me. I've seen a 2200 since I've been doing this.
Fair.
Although it was a little rougher.
Oh, yeah. So when you found out I'm playing Sunday morning, how did your mindset shift? Or like, what were some of the thoughts that were going through your head when you found out I made the cut?
A lot of it was just kind of needed to sink in. I probably took me to like 1:30, 2 o'clock to fall asleep because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What if I go and embarrass myself tomorrow?
Oh,
It's good. I mean, I showed up and I
but
definitely,
you didn't. We were proud.
I was pretty consistent even on the Sunday. I think I averaged like a 260. So there's, I was worried the whole way through, but I went in there and I persevered. And I think that's my biggest takeaway.
Yep.
For sure. Amazing. So in thinking, like you say, that's your biggest takeaway, just knowing that you can like persevere through it. Um, did you have any other takeaways from the weekend?
Well, there was lots of little things that other than I can ask questions when I don't know, because that first frame was pretty funny. They all laughed at me. Also learned some people like their tea cold.
Oh,
Might have
like
thrown away someone's tea.
Oh.
oops.
It was a really good first game.
That happens. So after playing both sides, because you were on the A side and B side, did you have a format that you enjoyed more, the total pinfall versus the best 2 out of 3?
I definitely think I liked the pinfall better, but I see the benefit to the 2 out of 3. Like in my match with Tweedy, I ended up winning pinfall, but it was best 2 out of 3, and I lost by like 10 pins the one game and 20 something the second game. But I won the first game by like 50. So I see both sides, and it was definitely interesting to have the two sides running simultaneously.
Oh.
I think we just found out whose tea it was.
I didn't realize
It was
he
pretty
was
funny.
a tea drinker. Did you
That's not who I expected.
have, Jamie, like, obviously your matches all were really good, but was there one that's just a little bit more memorable than the other?
I mean, honestly, they were all like, Carrie's was a lot more stressful, but coming back to not let him take it away, because probably halfway through game 3, he was on 3 in a row, and then he kept going, and I was like, oh, that lead is going to dwindle very quick if he keeps doing that. And then I had a couple of rough frames, then an untimely head pin, then of course I had the 3 pin. And I'm sitting there and I was like, oh, if I don't spare this and he strikes out, I will lose by 1. So it was a really timely spare.
Yeah, because you had pretty good handle of that match going into the third. Obviously,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
played really, really well. Yeah.
I think
And how,
really, really good last game.
yeah.
And then I did not fall apart when Johnny threw a 377 at me game 1.
That's huge.
And I actually stayed close enough. Like it was a 301, so I didn't have as big of a deficit as I could have.
Still a
For
beautiful
sure.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the second game I beat him to bring it within 30, and then the third game I missed the middle a couple times, but so did he. And then I just ended up with a couple more head pins. I could have still caught him, and then bowled the 8th frame I punched. And then I was like, oh, if he does basically anything other than throw 2 head pins, I can't catch him. But I could still throw 2 good frames and at least make it close and make him have to throw it out. And then I punched 9, and there was no chance anymore.
Right. Just going back to where you're like, I knew the math in my game. How good did it feel to know that math and then know the shot you had to throw and be able to execute it?
I mean, a 3-pin spare at Sherwood Park this year is really terrible. I
Yeah.
think I've made 6 of them. And there's been a lot of 3-pins this year at Sherwood Park. It's been a rough year at Sherwood Park. So it was like, oh, if I do not spare this, I am going to be in trouble. So knowing that I had to throw the 3-pin spare, I just had to take a minute and be like, okay, if I'm going to throw a good ball, now is the time.
Right.
So, I mean, then throwing it was really relieving because it's like, okay, I can still do this.
I can still be that clutch player when I need to be.
Yeah, that's a big
Well,
shot.
and I've never had to be a clutch player like that. Like, other than the Open, I've never done scratch. So these are all new tournaments. Like, I think this is the 7th WCBT I went to.
Right. Which I think like also like I almost forget, like last season feels like it was 5 years long, so maybe that's why. But like I forget that you're still fairly new to this whole like scratch tournament world, like the Open and WCBT events and just playing in that kind of format. So to have as much success as you had last year with, Open Nationals Gold and WCBT events that are the qualifying shifts are getting higher and higher and now making a cut. Like that's a lot of success to have in realistically a very short amount of time of playing events like this, right?
I got really lucky. I had some really good teammates to carry me through when I stressed out, and having people behind you, especially for like the open nationals, and knowing that if I wasn't doing it, Julie or Heidi or someone's on the bench to jump in, that really alleviates a lot of stress going in there and throwing that game.
Having that confidence in team. Yeah.
Well, we want to congratulate you on being like second high ladies qualifier at TPC. That's a really big deal. And we just want to know that we're proud of you for doing that. That's a huge score. That 21.85. It's massive,
It's
Jamie.
massive,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my second highest 8 score ever, and they're both at Sherwood Park.
Amazing. What do you have in store for the rest of the season? Any goals for as we move into the rest of the season?
Well, the first quarter of the season has been rough, so I'm just hoping the rest of it kind of smooths out. I
Good.
am hoping I can still arrange all the time off to go ahead and try the Open again and go from there.
Amazing. Well, again, selfishly, an Edmonton girl here, so it benefits me to see you get the time off work and do well. But congratulations on a fantastic start to the season there, and hopefully it all continues as we go through.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right.
A common theme. Like each one of them, including Cindy, all had like one simple goal.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they were getting ahead of themselves, right? In terms of their goal setting, which is really interesting in this podcast today.
Yeah. Yeah. No one was like, I know we kind of talked about it in our goal setting one where you have to make those like the small steps. No one went from here to here.
No,
Everybody
not at
has
all.
like those achievable small increments that they're going with. So
Agreed.
maybe they've listened to our podcast before.
I don't know, but I wrote it down. I was like, okay, what's the common theme here? I know you're going to do the closing, but I want to do like an early plug. I mean, we're months away. Diamond Ladies Classic has been posting a lot the last couple weeks, so just kind of started a little bit earlier in terms of like announcing April 19th to the 21st. And
Weekend change.
Yes.
Note the weekend change. I was already telling people it was in June. It is not in June.
Yes, it's a good call out. So it has been switched to April 19th to 21st, and obviously we'll start talking pretty loud about that in the new year.
Yeah. Manitoba Open is next week. So good luck to everybody who's going out to
Yeah.
Manitoba Open. This is their third year, I believe, running it. And hopefully we see some like massive scores out of there. I know last year we had a lot of ladies playing, especially ones from the East. So we're hoping that will continue. And next ladies podcast, I wrote November 20th on our sheet. It's December 20th.
I'm like,
December
November
20th.
20th.
I was in the middle of report card writing while I was doing it.
I get it.
December 20th
December
is
20th.
our next podcast. So
Just before
um,
Christmas.
just before Christmas,
Oh,
a
I see
little.
a fancy jingle.
I know. I was already thinking of like, what kind of elves could we be this year?
You know what? Always enjoyable. This podcast was incredible. Just to kind of recap, Cindy, Josie, Akira, Jenna, and Jamie, thank you for joining us on the podcast. And Katie, I love being your co-host.
Love it too. And we stayed on schedule. We got the job done. Only
Yes.
one little hiccup. So
Yes.
hopefully everyone has a fantastic month, and we can't wait till the next one.
We'll see you before Christmas, everyone.
Let me see if I can do it.